Hello everybody and welcome to another video between Magnus Carlsen and Hikaru Nakamura. And yet again, they fought together because of the fact that Magnus Carlsen has lost the previous game on my previous video. And now see what will happen. We got Hikaru Nakamura with the white pieces and Magnus Carlsen with the black pieces. Here we go. What he will play first, Hikaru Nakamura here played e4, controlling the squares on f5 and on d5 and trying to have an aggressive line here. We got pawn to e5, controlling squares at the center, doing the same as white. We got knight to f3, developing another piece, and also controlling more squares in the center over here. So we got knight to c6, protecting the pawn on e5, and also doing the same, which is developing the knight to a much better square and making every piece active in the game to attack the king. We got bishop to b5, pinning the knight to the pawn. Wherever the knight moves, the pawn will be attacked, and for no reason, it cannot take the knight because it has no reason. And if you take the knight, literally, this bishop will open. And sure, black has an advantage. I mean, white has an advantage that black has a double pawn structure. But for the fact of the bishop being active over here, so we got Hikaru Nakamura not doing that. And instead, we got bishop back to a4, going back from the danger of the pawn on a6. We got knight to knight to f6, which develops a knight, and now we got two knights developed for black. And maybe this bishop will be going out soon, in which the resulting thing will be castling for black. And yeah, we got two knights developed for black and two pieces developed for white, which is the bishop and the knight. All is good. We got white castling here and also connecting the rook to the queen because of the fact it's just nice. And they will literally protect each other if they stay on the the first rank. We got bishop to e7, which develops a bishop, and yet again I said that they will castle soon. Maybe they will castle soon, maybe not. So we got the next move, which is e1, which defends the pawn on e4, and then pawn to b5 is played. Attacking the bishop on e4, the bishop needs to go somewhere to escape the pawn because you cannot just take a pawn because this rook is too powerful, and also for the fact that the a pawn bishop is better than a pawn. Why would you trade a bishop for a pawn? So bishop goes back to b3 and pressuring the pawn on f7. We got castles for black, which literally moves into the view of the bishop on b3. We got pawn to c3, maybe later going to the square on c2, and we got pawn to d5. And White takes the center, attacks the knight has to take, or else the chaos will happen or something. We got knight takes d5, knight takes e5, knight takes e5, and we got both knights in the center, ridiculously in the center, and now the rook takes. We got rook takes e5. Now we got this very powerful rook moving anywhere, and also you can just say that white just develops a rook. We got pawn to c6, which defends the knight on d5 over here because it is being attacked twice. Therefore, it needs to be defended twice. We got pawn to d4, pawn to d3, maybe looking for some pawn breaks over here. And maybe this pawn to c4 will happen and then takes and then it will still attack the knight. And wherever the knight moves, the king will just you know what? I just leave this to you, the calculating and stuff. So the next move we have is bishop to d6, which literally attacks the rook. The rook has to move, and if the rook has to move, the bishop pressures the pawn on h3, h2, maybe deciding everything because of checkmate or something. And we got bishop to f5, developing another piece, which is the bishop looking to every piece on the white side. We got queen to f3 attacking the bishop on f5, which has just developed, and we got queen to h4 attacking the h2 square. There will be checkmate or maybe a swarm soon. And we got if if white takes the bishop on f5, if white takes the full bishop on f5, then this will happen, and then literally all the pieces will swarm the king, and maybe I don't know. Yeah, checkmate will be coming soon here because of the queen breaching in, and all of the other pieces are too quick, and maybe rook to e8 or rook to e8 is played here, and checking the king or whatever, and the rook has to, then the king has to hide, and we got this, and then the king has to move away, and then it's going to be chaos simply. So the white cannot just take the bishop and go, well, wow, free bishop. So we got the following moves over here. We got pawn to g3, attacking the queen. The queen has to move, so it moves to h3. Still going for checkmate, but it is seen not as checkmate anymore because it is too reinforced. We got knight to d2, and then rook to e8. By the way, knight to d2 also develops another piece, and we got rook to e8, attacking the rook on e1, and then that knight to e4 covers the attack. We got bishop to g4, queen to g2, attacking the queen on h3. We got queen g2, taking the queen. Now we have a queen trade over here, and then pawn to f5 was played, attacking the knight. The knight has to move, or he simply counter attacks him. If black were to take the bishop, black were to take the knight, then white will just take the bishop. And then if black takes the other pawn, this will be just a trade. And also for the fact that this pawn it can be easily win. Oh my gosh, what is happening to me with my delays today? I don't know what is that called. That okay? We're going to move on. We got trading with a bad pawn structure over here for white on the f file, and then pawn takes e4, which is taking the knight. Pawn takes pawn, and then we got bishop to f3, taking the bishop. Now we have this very, very major trade in this part of the game because of the fact that the whole queens are traded, and the bishops are traded, and the knights are traded, and now the bishops get traded, and now it became a repetition by draw. Now, why is this a draw? Why did Hikaru Nakamura wanted a draw, and why did Magnus Carlsen wanted a draw? Because Hikaru Nakamura wanted an Armageddon. An Armageddon is that wins if it is a draw, and if white wins, then white wins. But if it's a draw, black wins. So we got e4, pawn to e5, pawn to f4, and we got the King's Gambit. This is a very aggressive opening, really risky opening, but very aggressive for white and also for black. And Magnus Carlsen played the King's Gambit about 20 years ago, I think, or at least what Gotham Chess said. And now we got another King's Gambit, which is literally a rare move for Magnus Carlsen. So let's see what will happen. We got pawn to f4, controlling more squares at the white side, but that is a easily one pawn. That pawn can be won easily by going knight to f3, controlling all of the squares and blocking the movement of the pawn to go forward, and maybe later pawn to d3 was played, and then attacking the pawn and taking the pawn on f4, and now white has full central space. So we got knight to f3, developing another knight, and then pawn to g5, and then pawn to h4, and then pawn to g4, attacking the knight on f3. The knight needs to move, so it moves to e5, and then we got pawn to d6, attacking the knight on e5. The knight has to move again, but it takes another pawn this time, and we got knight to f6, attacking the knight on g4. And then this trade happens, we got the queen being active on f4. It's kind of bad because literally bringing out your queen early is bad, but in this case, it is not, because of the fact that the black bishop cannot actually adjust attack, and these pawns cannot attack the queen because of the pawn on d6, and this pawn is way, way, way back. So, this queen is a good benefit first, and we got knight to c6, developing another knight, developing another piece, controlling more squares at the center, being principled. We got queen to f3, pressuring the pawn on f4. We got bishop to h6. So from this point of the game, we got two pieces attacking and two pieces defending, and we got queen to f2, making the queen to a much better square, and maybe also to make, I don't know, the bishop active. We got rook to g8, attacking the pawn on g2. The knight goes to c3, which literally is just a developing move that, makes some more squares in the future, has more decision to choose which square to choose. and also attack the black king. Bishop to e6, and we got both bishops active here for the white side and the black side, and we got queen castles and king castles too. They both castled except for the benefit of black. The benefit of black is that he castled and he has two rooks connected, while this is not connected because of the bishop blocking on f1. The bishop needs to move in order to make the two rooks connected on h1 and on d1. We got queen to d4 offering a trade on the f2 square, and then we got queen to e1 going back, and he doesn't want to trade anymore because maybe that would lead into a major draw. Listen to me. If two major pieces, like the best pieces if are traded, are kind of 50% draw or not, I don't know. It's kind of like that. I don't know. We got knight to e2. And remember, if this game drew, Magnus Carlsen will win because it is an Armageddon, because Hikaru Nakamura has the advantage. We got pawn to f5, going for a pawn break, and attacking the pawn on e4. But don't forget the fact that the correct pawn break was pawn to d5, not pawn to f5. Because of the fact, if pawn to d5, we got pawn to g3, and then bishop to g7. This is checkmate. So he has to do something with it. Like bishop to c3, but pawn to d4, literally attack the bishop. The bishop has to go back, and if the bishop were to go back, then the space advantage of black is so good that pawn to f3 is also possible, and now the space advantage of black has begun to be positive and be good to Magnus Carlsen. Or, I don't know. Black is so aggressive right now. Look at the position. So, but Magnus Carlsen didn't do that. We got pawn to f5 instead. It is a pawn break, but it is the wrong one. So we got pawn to g3, but this time, if bishop to g7, bishop to c3, this pawn cannot go to d4. It cannot get the space advantage what it needed before, like I said before. We got pawn to e4, taking the pawn, and then pawn to f4, taking another pawn. We got an inaccuracy. I don't know why it's an inaccuracy, like literally. Give me a break here. Right? We got knight to g3. Boy, I do have many burps today. Why do I have so many burps today? You know what, let's just continue with the game. Knight to g3, attacking the queen, and also making the knight more active, and making it attack to more squares. And the black side, we got queen to f7, pawn to f5, attacking the bishop on e6. It is defended, which means you cannot take, right? We got bishop to d2, taking the knight on d2. Why would you take the knight on d2, by the way? I don't know. We got rook to d2, and then bishop to d7, and then king to b1, making the king safe in all of this madness right here, which are two cannons pointing at the white's territory. But we got a closed position for white, much more closed position than black. But black is so active here that it can attack everything on this side. So we got knight to e5, and then queen to e3, and then pawn takes d3, and then pawn takes d3. In this position, we got bishop to c6, knight to e4, making the knight more developed and more active. We got king to b8, making the king safer, and we got bishop to h3, trying to defend the pawn on f5, trying to hold on. The pawn is trying to hold on, like literally. We got rook to e8, attacking, maybe pressuring the knight. I don't know. Wait, what are we talking about? Defending the knight on e5 more, and we got to this position where bishop takes a2 happened, and the king cannot take because of the queen, and we got king to the a1, and then bishop to d5. Why didn't Hikaru Nakamura prevented that? Instead go a3? Because of the fact of knight takes d3. Knight takes d3, then queen takes d3. We got bishop to e4. It also forced the pawn. And now, the queen cannot move, and the queen cannot take the bishop because of the fact that it is defended. And also, the queen cannot move, so he has to move, but the queen cannot move, so he has to move another piece, but the queen cannot move, so the bishop takes the queen. So yeah, we got to this position where we have Magnus Carlsen trying to breach in. I mean, look at this piece coordination. Like, literally. From here, we got a queen to d7. It is Operation Breach to the king side over here. We got queen to d4, and then queen to b5, trying to attack the pawn on d2, and we got this knight going in here, trying to go to this side of the board and trying to eliminate white here. We got rook takes rook, and then the rook on e8 is suddenly also powerful, and we got bishop to b3, trying to cover up all the squares, and watch how Magnus Carlsen just converts this easily with queen to a1, and then we got the rook traded for a knight. Since our rooks are better than knights, Magnus Carlsen took it. Took the rook. We got bishop takes d3, and then knight to f6 attacks the rook, and we got rook to e2. A brilliant move. Why is it a brilliant move? Because of the fact, if you take the bishop, then queen to d2, and then king to c3, and then we got rook to c2, and the king has to move any of these squares. It cannot go here, 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 because it will be eaten, and if it goes here, we cut to this. And if white doesn't take the bishop and moves here, it doesn't matter. He just gives a check, and Magnus Carlsen is still winning and is up many, many points of material. He's going to win anyway since he's the former world champion. But now the former world champion is Ding, which he might literally challenge maybe later months or maybe later years. Yeah, so this is the last video and the first video I'm gonna be talking about. See you guys in the next video. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. That will be very appreciative, and making that will motivate me to make more videos like this. And yeah, see you guys in the next video. Peace out. Yeah, peace out.